Coming up on this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports, we have the latest update on Russell Wilson and his future, where he could potentially end up, where that situation stands in Denver. Also, Nick Chubb, could he be on his way to the nation's capital? We have some very juicy trade rumors on Chubb. And then Tee Higgins got the franchise tag, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's staying in Cincinnati. We have some very fascinating trade rumors on Higgins to get to coming up in a matter of moments. Before we do, little challenge out there. I want to see, can we set the comment record on today's show? Here's what we're going to do to give you a little incentive to see if we can get it done. Whoever comments 30 times or more on today's show, you're going to get a shout out on a future episode of NFL Daily. And we could have multiple people comment over 30 times from today's show. If you do that, we'll show you some love, and we'll go ahead and get started here on NFL Daily. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler provided an update on Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson over the weekend on SportsCenter. And according to Jeremy Fowler, the end is near for Russ's time in Denver, and the parameters as far as his next destination, the way things are unfolding, are pretty fascinating. Listen to this from Fowler. Everybody I've talked to around the league expects the Denver Broncos at some point around the new league year in the next few weeks to rip the Band-Aid off and release Russell Wilson, even though they owe him $39 million in guaranteed money. The feeling is he'll sign for considerably less, maybe even the league minimum, because he's got all of that money in hand guaranteed. And so he's going to have options. The feeling I get from talking to teams and scouts is he's still an NFL starter. There will be a job somewhere for him. So the Broncos owe Wilson a total of $39 million next season. All that money is guaranteed. Now, this is where things get a little messy. The Denver Broncos would take on an NFL record $85 million in a dead cap hit charge with a release that would go against the cap this season. We told you a couple days ago about how the salary cap across the NFL has jumped up to over $250 million. That would take a significant margin of that without even having him on the roster. Now, Wilson's $37 million for 2025 would be guaranteed if he is on the Broncos roster on March 17th. So you would have to think that the Broncos are going to make an official decision sooner rather than later when it comes to Wilson's status with the organization. Now, if it were me, if I were Sean Payton and this Broncos organization, I would be like, you know what, Russ? It was bad how things ended this past year when you got benched and all that, but we just need to apologize. We just got to make this right, and we got to bring you back next year, because why on earth does it make any sense to take on an $85 million dead cap hit when you had a player have a pretty solid season this past year? Why would you pay him all that money just to not wear your uniform? If I'm going to pay him all that money, might as well have him on my roster. I don't think the dead cap hit is personally worth it. Russ's value, if he were to go in the open market, is still going to be starter-level money in the NFL, about $20 million. And so now you look at coming off this season that he had with 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Russ wasn't bad. You're looking at him playing for the minimum. That way he can get all his money from Denver. This could be a potential steal for somebody. And I know that there's the character concerns and the way things went off the field in Denver and inside the locker room and all that. But if Russ can humble himself a bit, maybe this is the wake-up call he needed, then all of a sudden, you're looking at a situation potentially where, remember when Russ was at his very best, was the days with the Seattle Seahawks when he was playing under a rookie contract, and the rest of the team got to benefit from that. Could be another similar circumstance here if he's willing to play for the minimum. A couple teams to keep in mind on Russ. The Las Vegas Raiders, right there within the division with the Denver Broncos. They still need a quarterback. The Atlanta Falcons, they feel like they're just a QB away from being a contending team. And then there's the New York Football Giants. Daniel Jones, probably isn't that guy. They got to start looking for other options. Russ could be their potential destination there. Our pinned comment today, where will Russell Wilson play next season? Is it one of those three teams? Is it somewhere else? Weigh in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stake basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, the player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entry stays live. I'm looking ahead to baseball season on Prize Picks with little projections here. I got Mookie Betts to have more than 32.5 home runs and Manny Machado to have less than 30.5 home runs. If I put $20 down, both these hit, we're making $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. I've been winning big on Prize Picks, playing NASCAR specifically. You can win big too. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Nick Chubb, could he be on his way to D.C.? Heavy.com has proposed the potential trade of sending the Browns running back to the Washington Commanders. Here's more. The Washington Commanders enter the 2024 through 2025 season with Brian Robinson Jr. and Chris Rodriguez Jr. as their running backs. Robinson Jr. proved that he can be a serviceable running back in this league, but the Commanders, to reach their full potential, they should look for a #1 this offseason. With free agents and potential trade targets, Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns should be someone they go after. Now, let's kind of set the table here for you. Chubb carries a salary cap hit of about $16 million next year. The Browns, meanwhile, would be in a situation where it would cost them just about $4 million if they were to cut him, right? So, in theory, the Browns potentially are going to be looking at cutting him anyway. If you're a team like the Commanders, you might be saying to yourself, well, why would I make a trade when he's going to be available in free agency here pretty soon? Heavy had this idea. This is what they're proposing. A 4th and a 5th round pick in exchange for Nick Chubb. Okay? Now, here's the other part of this. Not just am I talking about a situation where he might get cut. So I'm thinking to myself, why would I give up draft capital for a guy I can potentially get for free? But then not to mention, he's coming off of his second knee surgery as well. You're the Washington Commanders. You got a new head coach, new administration coming in and all that. I don't think that's a great idea to set your tone for this organization if you're going to go that route right now. Nick Chubb's a fantastic football player. Nobody's denying that at all. You look back at what he did that stretch from 2020 to 2021 with over 1,000 yards and at least 8 touchdowns and at least 5.1 yards per carry. Nick Chubb was fantastic. But coming off a second knee injury, another year older, and not to mention, you look at the running back market, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, they're all about to be available as well. I don't think it makes much sense for the Commanders or anybody for that matter to make a trade here for Nick Chubb. What do you guys think? Will Nick Chubb return to the Browns next season? Why for yes and for no? Weigh in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Tee Higgins, he officially received the franchise tag from the Cincinnati Bengals, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's coming back for next season. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's there. So what could potentially be next for Higgins after receiving the franchise tag? Well, Ari Melrov from the 33rd team put out this report with some very interesting insights. Here's what Ari had to say. The question really becomes, will they look to trade him after tagging him? I think if they were to consider doing that, there would be multiple suitors who would be interested in doing that. Giving up a really good pick, plus give him a contract for a 25-year-old receiver who would be a #1 for a team. So the question to me really becomes, are they going to take the Jesse Bates route and just play it out? We don't care. Or are they going to say, let's just get something for this guy right now instead of just letting him play out one more year and get nothing? To me, I think it'd be silly to let him just walk for nothing and get your comp pick down the road, which would probably be a third-round pick that you'd get as a comp pick. If I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I would, if I can't get a long-term deal done with Tee Higgins, then I would trade him and I would demand at least a first-round pick. We've seen over the last couple of years, the wide receiver trade market has gone just bananas. Okay, I mean, hell, Marquise Brown got traded for a first-round pick, for crying out loud. Okay, I mean, we've seen A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, that trade involved 5 picks. Okay, Tee Higgins, you can get at least a first-round pick, probably more potentially, for a guy that I understand he was injured some last year, but still has been very good the last couple of seasons, and not even as the primary receiver there, right? I mean, he's played second fiddle to Jamar Chase. He's a number one quality receiver. You get him out somewhere, these numbers are going to skyrocket, and I think you're going to see Tee Higgins look like one of the best receivers in football. The odds of where he'll go next, the Bengals still favored to hang on to him at plus 125. But you can see the Patriots at plus 900, the Chiefs there as well, the Panthers at plus 1,200, and the Texans at plus 1,200. And one thing to think about with these odds as well, if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, as far as not just letting him walk in free agency, trading him now and getting something out of him, I don't want to sit here a year from now, if I'm the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs all of a sudden come calling and they sign Tee Higgins, and not only did I not get anything out of him in a trade, but my biggest threat in the AFC just got better. That's the other part of it. If you trade him, send him away to the NFC, and then he doesn't become a problem for you to face on that front. So, very interesting. Something to keep in mind there. So let's ask you, should the Bengals trade Tee Higgins? Type T for trade, type K for keep. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time right here on NFL Daily.